Someone has been keeping a deep and dark secret, and I think that they're finally ready to admit this. Let's get into today's pick a card. If you do not know me, my name is Felicia. I am a human and civil rights advocate. I run a nonprofit in women's health called Divas Can Manifest, or you can find the Divas Can Manifest monologue channel down below. Check out that channel. That's an awesome channel. But there's so many changes going on in the org, so I thank you guys for being patient with me as I change and adapt, and there's like been so much upheaval recently. But let's hop into today's pick a card. This is going to be, what are they finally ready to admit? And I think that you might be shocked as hell, okay? But I think that you will continue to be prosperous, friends. So don't, even before coming into this message, I want you to just be chilling, okay? I just want you to just chill, stay resolute in your truth, and like, no matter what someone else decides, no matter their emotions, their behavior, their actions, you have the free will to act as you choose. It may be news that you don't want to hear, but it does not have to control your narratives. So let's get into today's pick a card reading. Check out all of our endorsements below and a Renaissance court at members only. Let's get into today's pick a card, group 1. These are from the tarot deck that I got during my holiday Christmas season. This one's called the Mean Girls Tarot, and we love this tarot deck, actually. So choose. This first card is the Ten of Swords. This second card, and this doesn't have to be like the end of your life, right? The second card is the King of Cups. The third is the Hierophant, and then the fourth is the Page of Pentacles. Because this suit has different names than the traditional tarot. So let's get into it. I love you guys so much. Check out ways to get back to us. All of the proceeds to this channel go back to our nonprofit organization in women's health, and I'll see you in your selection. Okay, group 1, welcome to your selection. You chose the Ten of Swords energy, and you know, this card, it definitely came out in the upright position. So I know that this could feel very painful, okay? It could feel emotional, okay? I think that this is a situation, I'm hearing an ex, okay? There's a situation where someone's ex comes back, okay? And it could be like a competition for like your beauty or something like that. Competition for your beauty. You guys, something about you, you know, their ex comes back, and their ex was like not a beauty is what I'm hearing. Something where their ex could have not been a beauty, okay? I also think that some of you guys, it could be because of your beauty. You know, a lot of them, they could be, this is a situation where they project their age difference, okay? They project their age difference on, you know, onto your beauty, and it's unconditional, okay, friends? I think that you know, your love for them is unconditional, okay? Because they get triggered, okay? This is a triggering about their physical appearance, and this is possible because of an age difference issue for a lot of y'all, okay? So let's see what's going on, friends. Let's reflect upon this situation, because you know, this person has to like choose a pathway, and I think that they choose their ex, okay? So if you guys are wondering, I think some of them may have asked you for marriage, right? And I think that there have been previous cycles when people, I think that this is not the first time you were asked for marriage, friends, okay? And so if they get triggered as hell, and if they lose their security, meaning they lose contact and go back to their ex, I just think that that means that they chose someone else and they were defensive as hell, okay? For others, you guys could maintain your security, but I think that there could be this delay or this, situation where you guys start getting concerned about health, age, physical appearance, okay? And it is burdensome as hell, okay? So a lot of you guys, you could be known for being beautiful, and so this is also burdensome as hell, okay? Because if you're known for being like this health and beauty, you've received a success upon something, this person truly, has a woe and a sorrow about their physical appearance, right? Especially if they're older. This love hurts, okay? I know that it's unconditional, but being around this perfect, like perfectly refined aesthetic is triggering as hell, friends. Especially your scent. You smell very rich. Friends, you smell very rich. And, but you might have these behavioral health issues, right? Like I said, people could think that you're normal, or they can think that you're like, you're not, you're like neurodivergent, friend. And I think that there's this, they're doing something delusional at this pathway, and it's a sorrow and a psychological mental illness, okay? And this is what they're finally ready to admit this, especially if they're getting prepared for, getting you guys prepared for marriage. I think that they're about to admit, you guys, some of you guys could literally live together still or be together, and then you have these like, emotional tantrums or emotional mood swings or, insecurities about, and some negative things that you transmute with your crown. I think that you do it in a beautiful way, friends, okay? Because some of you guys are literally unconditionally loving, okay? And so you are not together based on physical appearance, okay? But some of you guys, this does mean that they choose someone else, right? And they strategize, right? Because they kind of turn into one of your stalkers because they have an anxiety about their health, okay, or they have an illness, right? And I think that some of them do admit this and maintain their security. But for others, if you have an aesthetic, right, that is, a work or a service that where you're being dependent on, it doesn't just have to be about health, but it literally, like, I literally feel like this is, this, they feel like they don't want someone with a responsibility. They're just a conventional loser, right? They don't want to, they're just a part of the masses, or they're just ill, friend, or just, they're that if they're ill, they're the South End, right? And I think that some of you guys, they actually start depending on you for, health, right? And for your work and your service. Like they know that you're healthy. They know that, some of you guys, you could be in a crisis or you could be recovering from something, but I think that like you guys need each other for physical security. And so some of you guys, you do decide to get married, but I think that because you guys need each other for physical security, you maintain that. But the anger and aggression and arguments might start to flare and create sorrows in your relationship, okay? I do think that this is literally, what they're finally ready to admit is that they've been doing something delusional at a crossroads because they're literally mentally ill, or they're literally insecure as hell. They have a really poor self-image and they get really defensive, okay? Some of them have unrealistic expectations that are delusional. Some of them have toxic expectations. Some of you guys just have incompatible expectations, right? They depend on you, and some of them, they know that you're being dependent on. And it can be burdensome being with someone who, where they feel like their fortune reversed in life, and they feel like, some of them have been out of work, or they've been out of service, or they've, some of them could be retired, you know what I'm saying, like, or just have been known for adversity, and you could be coming around very prosperous in a situation. Some of you guys, this is someone that can't even look you in the face, right? Some of them have totally lost security. And it's because they couldn't hold a responsibility of this relationship. They turned into one of your gang stalkers. If they lost security, right? They be in, like, after offering you marriage or something like that. Some of them left you guys at the altar. They totally revoked the offer. They totally evaded their responsibility, and it caused you a lot of sorrow too. But what they're really starting to, like, what they're ready to admit, friend, is that a lot of this is a mental illness or behavioral health problem. Okay, so or some of them have been having, they're burdened by your employment, right? They don't want to, they're burdened by you having, skills and knowledge that might be more advanced than theirs. Something where they can't really collaborate, or they don't really offer anything, because they're ill. And I think that they just end up being a stalker, okay? Because they're one of the, like, zombies in the Matrix, kind of. Yeah. I'm working on my career and finances, okay? Yeah, I think that this is a situation where some of them, they offered you marriage because of a career, like for a career and financial move, okay? A lot of these will come out as kings in the tarot, okay? And so a lot of them will strategize, their communication, to work on their finances and career, okay? So some of them want to have a health career like you, or they start considering other people, offering the same work and service as you. And a lot of it is delusional. A lot of them do not really know how to. They don't really have enough abilities in their career and finances, okay? Do whatever you want. Yeah, I think that in this situation, especially if you guys get married, they want you to stay in the security, but I think that you learn that, that they feel deceptive as hell or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They feel like they'll do whatever in the relationship. They don't really honor the relationship. Some of them, they know that you are training for something, and so they, some of them could feel like you're the one that's trying to leave, right? You're the duplicitous one, okay? But I think that a lot of you guys really have this duty that you realize in this marriage, or in this or in your, through the 6th house. And I think that it becomes their burden too, okay? Your job or your occupation becomes their burden too. Some of you guys, when they learn about your job, or they learn about, how your house, right? When they learn, some of them, they get sick and ill about, like, your balance to have this occupation, right? And so that makes them really unstable when they realize that you are just like this really balanced person, or that you recover from an illness. Some of them, when they realize that you're being dependent on or something like that, it totally rewrites the narrative that they had in their minds. I don't know, something where it could be a lot of different, you're training for something, or they don't really know, like, maybe they, you don't share everything. You keep some healthy boundaries around work and service, and your health, and your romantic life. And when they realize that you are there working on your career and finances, they kind of start working on their career and finances too, okay? And so they kind of do whatever they want, because they know that you're there just to serve them, okay? Because they see they feel like you could get prepared to leave for someone else or something else. But I think that a lot of you guys are wrapping up a big cycle where your fortune reversed, and you had to kind of work on your finances and career. And you're working on closing a cycle of communication where you have to, like, kind of work on your finances and career for some valid reason, right? Because of health and safety or something like that, okay? So I think that they know that you can kind of, I think that I don't know, I feel like for a lot of them, if you guys are not married yet, or there were people that offered you marriage, some of these people revoked the offer, okay? And I think that some of them did cause a crisis, or you guys were put in a crisis because they caused a crisis, or they are themselves in a crisis. So some of you guys are just there to offer them a service, or they're there to offer you a service. So, I think that what they're finally ready to admit is that a lot of them have a burden around you know, around your health, your employment, you know, your fitness, how you handling the responsibilities. Like, it's like something where they become really intimidated by you kind of realizing your duty in a situation. Like, through whatever union you guys have, you might literally realize a duty in the situation, but they kind of like, I don't know if they really are someone that you can depend on. Okay, so, you know, I think that especially if they start to contest a lot, they start to say no a lot, if they get angry and aggressive, like if they start complaining, you know, I think that they're just people who just make them feel like one of the little people. Okay, so, you know, when are they finally ready to admit, friend? Okay, so let's see, when are they finally ready to admit? The Four of Swords. Okay, they're definitely thinking about you a lot. Okay, with the World and the Four of Swords, I think that you know, some of them become your gang stalker. Okay, or some of them become, like I said, you guys become dependent on each other and just decide to get married or something like that. LOL. You guys kind of need each other, but I think that what they're finally ready to admit is that they're finally ready to close this cycle and make a decision. But I think that you've already kind of grown detached or cold in a way. Okay, with the Four of Swords, you know, I think that you have been divinely protected through this deliberation, is what I'm hearing. Okay, but I think that someone is really not collaborative. It's just like you kind of have to drag them along a lot, or you have to hold the responsibility for them, or this is something that loses the spark. Okay, this person is there, you know, is with you for finances and security. You feel like they're authority in a situation, so it feels like they have a paternal attachment issue. And, you know, I think that they really do disappoint. You know, I think they really do disappoint, and then kind of like beg you to stay because they need you for physical security. Okay, for finances and career or something like that. So, for their health, for their hygiene, and to help them grow. You know, I think that you do a lot of just like teaching them. But I think that you become dissatisfied. I don't know if you become, you know, I don't know if it's always like this, right? I think that they're not Nine of Cups, friend. Okay, you definitely get a wish fulfillment in this situation, but this crossroads that they're at is something delusional that they do for physical security. Okay, so it has been like an addiction, or it has been for career and finances. So you guys have been divinely protected through this situation like something that they do for career and finances could be, you know, they're begging you to stay, you know, through this, you know, apathy. I think that there's apathy here as well. I think that they're ready to admit something that they've been doing for career and finances. Some of them, they're just a hustler, or they don't have enough money to protect you. And a lot of you guys, you know, you guys need each other for something, okay, for finances. And they have just, I don't think that they're responsible enough, or someone has started to stalk you guys. Okay, I think that a gang of people started to stalk you guys, and it became sorrowful as hell. You know, because they created distractions, illusions, and fears while you've been away at work or something like that. You know, they have just become a burden around you. And I think that you definitely stay. I think that a lot of you guys stay, but I think that they don't really support your growth in the way that you hope them to. Okay, or you start to feel like they don't really want you to shine. Okay, so a lot of you guys, some of them just can't take the idea of you holding a responsibility. Like I was saying that before, I didn't fully flesh that out. It kind of feels like, you know, some of them didn't expect you, like when they found out your occupation, or they found out you were holding some kind of responsibility. For some of you guys, take it how it resonates. They were really, it was like, it really changed their perspective as well. And I think that it created a hardship in the relationship because the narrative that they had been writing wasn't what was actually happening. And so a lot of it was delusional. You've been away working on your finances and career, I know. And I think that if there was some kind of, they had to reorient themselves to a different kind of, it led to an ending. I think that when you guys, they had to, I think that they just, of course they became burdensome, right? Because of course you sharing something new with them made them burdened or made them defensive, okay? Something where they start to get defensive, okay? About your personal growth in a marriage, so or a committed relationship, something where you guys actually grow a dependency on each other. But like it's because like it's like something where they grow defensive around you having your own responsibility and personal growth. Some of them didn't expect you to be so smart, or they didn't expect you to be so powerful. They had a conventional projection onto your abilities, and had an exaggerated belief that they were the only ones that could do something, that maybe they even projected something about the ancestry onto your ability as well, like not thinking that it was black excellence when it was. Some of you guys, they just for clarity and insight, they had just really become dependent on you because they had to rewrite a narrative that was delusional to begin with. That's what I'm hearing, okay? But they become defensive about their personal growth, okay? And we have the shadow, the devil in the reverse. I also feel like these gang stalkers start to target your spouse when you're away at work, okay? Especially if they share a house or an environment with them, okay? Some of you guys could work with this person, okay? Or you could like have business and marriage. And I think that they beg you to stay through all of this, them also needing to put their ambitious pursuits first. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, I think that it's just unfulfilling, okay, as hell. And I think that a lot of them, if you do choose to stay in a marriage or something like that, they just, some of them, they never fulfill the offer, okay, or they never manifest, is what I'm hearing. Something where they never manifest the contract or something like that. I also feel like some of you guys, you'll never feel like it's enough. You'll never feel like you guys manifested the dream career and finances that you were hoping, and so this marriage feels like a total flop. Like it feels like a total, and I think that some of you guys just start strategizing your career or your finances to see if you can get out of it. And I think that you do get out of it if you want to, friend, with the Nine of Cups. But it does bring you sorrow that this person was like attached to you. They were like a shadow attachment, the devil. I think that what they're really what they're ready to admit is that, they've been really codependent on you because they haven't had as much ability and have been growing a defensive, around you training or, your health, or through anything, something through the sixth house around career and finances. Even like, even you guys could have had a lot of personal growth in this dynamic, and you get what you want out of the situation. You get the most of your relationships. But I think that this person kind of leaves you to like swim or sink, especially if they revoke an offer for marriage, okay? So especially because it could become a fight for the career and finances. Some of you guys worked on projects together, and they just became deceptive as hell, or started doing something in their own best interest because they started to resent you for ability or your responsibility or your healthy boundary for your own health, right? So that's what I'm saying, friends, with the Four of Swords. Yeah, I think that what they're ready to admit is that they feel a sting. Truly, they're the ones that really feel this thing. And I think that you guys could really be intimate, or you could love the way that they touch your breast or something like that, and they just do not honor, or they have like a bitter resentment that when you realize it might be heartbreaking. When you truly realize that someone when an intimate partner becomes resentful of your personal growth, but like need to strategize for finances and career, then you realize that it was just kind of like a loser. They might beg you to stay in a relationship because they don't have as much ability as you. But I think that you realize that they start to have a competing desire for something that makes, that's rooted in their own aggression and defensiveness as well. You know what I'm saying? There's resistance in the relationship. There's fighting in the relationship. There's like, I don't know, there's like, I think that you guys find it emotionally satisfying because you're like codependent as hell on each other, I think. But some of you guys, this could become you guys might have a political debate in your relationship. You guys could have different like religions or different, political affiliations, and you just are just there for finances and career, right? Serving your own agenda. And it's like, oh, I'm hearing that, you better start strategizing, friend, lol, because there's like a versus here, okay? And they decide that it's a matter of their career and finances. And so if it's just about occupation, then it's just a strategy for career and finances, you know what I mean? So like, it's not a romantic love, then, friend. And I think that you're divinely protected. Your own career and finances are divinely protected through the situation. I just think that you grow really bored as hell. Some of you guys, this is literally just a moment of apathy, okay? That you still get what you want in a situation, but I think that you emotionally withdraw because there's a conflict resolution. It could be a conflict resolution, friend. And you decide to stay, but I think that what they admit does sting. It does sting because it hurts you that it's a conflict. When you are just healing and, and taking your healing as, healing with a sense of duty is what I'm hearing, okay? So it just could be a vicious cycle with the death energy, and I think that it does end, friend, but I think that it becomes, one of your responsibilities. A lot of you guys, this is something that becomes one of your responsibilities for career and finances. But I think that there could be a teamwork breaking down, okay? So it's, some of you guys might, find them, exploring their options, thinking about other people when you're away, you know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of it is, a resistance, to their past about their ex, okay? And that's always it's going to hurt, reaching into this new familiar territory where you're like health, service, work, duty, diet, fitness, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's you. And they're just like in this like shallow conflict with you, because of some kind of mental illness they develop with their ex, you know what I'm saying? So I think that some of them are actually, they're getting ready to, they don't have everything they need to admit this to you, okay? And I think that they actually need you for clarity and insight to understand what this resistance is to their ex, or to, to whatever. They need you to help them with their health, friend, truly. And so a lot of them, they don't have enough ability and they beg you to stay, okay? But they do whatever they want, I think, right? So I think that they would be heartbroken if you left the relationship or the situation, right? But I think that you just find it deceptive as hell because you realize that there's like a competition, which means that like some of you guys would literally do whatever. If there's like a competition, available, then they will let someone compete with you. You know what I'm saying? So for marriage, right? And so some of you, you might find this to be undermining, okay? Or they might decide, start looking at their ex and say, hey, like, oh, maybe I should marry my ex or something. Like, some of them they are going to admit to you that they are married, okay? And that they would, they never could move this relationship forward. So, and that's going to be a big conflict. Yeah, a lot of them, if they're working on their career and finances, I don't really see them being successful. And I think that I think that that's why they beg you to stay. I think that they are also just really intensely selfish. And this is a Libra, okay, or a Taurus man could possibly be a Pisces, masculine energy. Someone's name starts with the letter A, or angel. This person, they they are like a prostitute themselves, okay? They will do anything for money, okay? Some of them is because they have a drug addiction, and they're going to tell you about this drug addiction or this mental illness, right? That they're finally starting to tell you about. But I think that through the whole process, there's like, you guys would need to recommit to each other, okay? Because they are truly inept. And you're just there with the realized duty in a situation, I think. So, you guys might, there might be a lot of sacrifices. I think that there's a journey of unconditional love here. I think that's beautiful, friend, especially if if you guys tied the knot. I think that was met with a lot of beautiful intentions, but I don't think that every promise works out that way, okay? So this person becomes very selfish in their approach to you in this marriage. It's not because they love you. I don't want to say that it's because they love you or because they honor you. It's because they are like an addiction and they need something as well, okay? So this is what they're finally ready to admit to you. A lot of them, they're just starting to stand up to this conflict, to release burdens, right? The Ten of Wands, to release burdens. And I think that they do, I think that you guys are romantic and dreamy about each other. But I think that these offers are to undermine, they are to undermine you, undermine feminine energy and use it to, explore their options a lot of times. And this is like a conventional story because they grow defensive, and they just start to justify someone else or talking to someone else. Like they start, if you catch them staring at your hands a lot, the way that you function, they're really trying to just like, they're trying to see, like they're trying to discern your feminine energy that makes you capable to receive, these kind of offers, or for them to like make you capable to receive and create something, or like it like something where they want to, they want to watch your ability. And I think that they're what they're finally ready to admit to you is that when they make you these offers, that's their hidden motivation, is that they want performance, so that they can project that performance onto options for career and finances, okay? As a selfish and intense, greedy desire. Someone who's very, very scarce, right? This person is really codependent. I think a lot of you guys, they don't plan anything negative, but I also think some of you guys, if they offered you marriage, they actually don't, they don't fulfill on that, okay? They don't ever move forward with the marriage offer, okay? And a lot of them leave you to sink a lot, okay? I think that you guys could be heartbroken when they finally admit that they don't want to move this forward. Some of you guys, they will admit that they don't want to move this forward. They will show you that they're not planning towards the pathway that they're not planning to take the crossroads, because they're not planning to move forward, or they're not taking your pathway. They chose someone else, right? And I think that whatever they offer you is, it's corrupted, or it's not fully a collaboration to achieve something, okay, or for a purpose. It's for their selfish and intense desire to strategize their finances and career somewhere else, okay? What else are they finally ready to tell you? Yeah, because they throw too many emotional tantrums about your ability and your growth, and a lot of them are just like, they don't really admit this to themselves, okay? So they could really desire you for sex. That's why I'm seeing like a really beautiful Nine of Cups energy. And I definitely think that you guys, do like each other, friend, but I don't think that it's enough, right? Some of you guys, this is like a really good friend that you decide to marry, okay? For career and finances, and you guys just do whatever you want, right? But I think that it's, the offers are never enough, right? Or you just, with the Seven of Swords, there are hidden truths that come up about their tantrum, where you feel like you kind of need to protect yourself or guard yourself from the undermining of their feminine energy with these offers that they make you for marriage or for courtship in some type of way. I do see unconditional love, or in a journey to unconditional love with the self first and foremost, but I think that you learn forgiveness as well, or you learn that a lot of this is happening subconscious. That a lot of them, when what they're ready to admit to you, is a lot of this is that they, in the 3D, some of them can be, very structured and methodical people, but a lot of them have these mood swings or mental illnesses that are happening on a subconscious level, and this could be related to a triggering or sorrow that they have about their ex. Okay, so, and I think that that's also hidden from view from them, for them as well, especially if you're a really beautiful friend. It's really easy to project that onto you. With the Page of Pentacles, I do see that they have a goal, a method. I do see that they do focus on nurturing something with you. With the Page of Pentacles, they do feel dedicated in a way, but I think that what they finally admit to you is that they've been having a problem planning because they keep getting triggered by their ex and throwing tantrums about your physical beauty, your health, and some kind of ability that you display, right? But some of you guys, it literally, you know, they're literally focusing on you to try to grow something else, or grow something, you know, for themselves, or, you know, just try to like they're only concerned about what brings them more benefit, more growth, more money and finances, right? And so I think that you kind of neutralize them if they try to, like, I think that once you like their strategies of deception, or their strategies or their hidden tantrum is revealed, there's a stalemate, because you guys have like this complex decision to make at a crossroads with the Two of Swords, between you and someone who tried to sabotage you. But subconsciously, you know, I think that they're focused and they find a method and they work towards a goal with you. But I think that they're what's hid from view, or what they're finally ready to admit to you, is that they have had a tantrum about their ex, or, you know, a traumatizing experience that they feel like they can't, you know, that they conflict with you too much. Like some of you guys could have even had, you know, traumatizing experiences in your relationship. Some of them feel like if you hid something from them at the beginning of the relationship, like if you concealed a secret from them in some type of way, they see you as duplicitous as hell also, right? They see that you were just there. Some of you guys, you came to the relationship just working on your finances and career, and were offered marriage. And so I think that you guys have reached this like complicated stalemate where the relationship, all the problems, you know, and conflicts are, you kind of find no way forward with them. And I think that they finally, you know, I think that they finally start focusing on telling you that they're not ready to move forward, or that they don't want to move forward anymore, or that this is just a temporary feeling of, you know, anger and aggression, or competition, or they feel like, you know, there was literally a competition. You know, some of you guys, there was literally a competition. And so I think that when you realize that it was a competition, you may have found that was duplicitous, or that, you know, some of the competition is happening subconsciously, and they just have this self-restricted blindfold on, you know, with the people who lost the competition. I think that you know, they fold, they're not able to defend the concept of marriage, right? And I think that a lot of them, I don't know, it's such a contrasting energy with this Two of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. It feels like they make, you know, you guys could, I think that they're split, Fran. I think that they have a method and function for you, especially if you operate within a marriage or a house. But I think that you learn that it's kind of like an ill will if they started considering someone else, right? So yeah, I think that you feel like there's somebody that you need, that you're actually someone that you need to protect yourself from, because they've been like around you with a hidden motivation also, right? Or they just needy as hell, okay? They're just needy. And I think that they haven't been ready to, like, they haven't told you about all of their needs, okay? Or some of you guys, you realize that this is not someone that you don't want to work with. It's like you guys might just stay friends, or you just work independently at times, I think, okay? And I think that this could be a vicious cycle where you have fairness around that, okay? You view each other with balance around that. Yeah, I think that there's mutual shared value where you guys need to kind of clear a past baggage, a rite of passage to marriage for relationships that don't move forward. I think they're finally ready to tell you that there have been gang stalkers around the relationship that have been competing for the relationship, but they have been focused on you and making you offers, right? And I think that they just learned that they need to protect themselves for things that don't move forward, and they're like at this stalemate, right, with your gang stalkers and, you know, that are in competition with, you know, that started stalking you for your breast or your marriage, and you, right? And so I think that they decide not to move forward, and I think that they're finally, you know, some of you guys decide not to move forward also, right? You just decide that it's immature if they feel burdened by the gang stalkers and they just fall short, or this could just be delay reward, friend. I think that they need to tell you about this mental illness, some of them, okay, or they need to nurture something with you, and I think that they do that through a series of, I think that they kind of turn into a gang stalker also, friend. Some of you guys, they just turn into a gang stalker, and that these offers that they make you are just them being obsessed with you. And I think that that could also represent like someone who's split between the shadow and the light aspect in this marriage. I think that you might feel spooky because this is someone who has like a shadow attachment to the gang stalkers, and they do something immature to explore their options of these, where they kind of like, you know, they're seduced by people, you know, but I don't think they ever move forward, but I think that they kind of do get seduced by offers of money, or, you know, distractions, illusions, and fantasies of you know, more money and finances, you know, because they're kind of a prostitute themselves. For others, you know, like I said, they could be both shadow and light here, where this person, they could, you know, I do think that they have these dreamy feelings about you, and they do find you to be emotionally satisfying, but they are at this stalemate where they don't see a way forward, or they don't plan anything, you know, a way forward, because something needs to be, I think that something does make them change their perspective, and I think that, you know, some of it, they do grow ill will, but for some others, you guys are lovers and on a journey, and this is something subconscious that they're working through, but they still fulfill on their obligation, okay? But some of you guys, they're ready to admit that there's a group of people stalking you, okay? Some of them, they want you to know that there are people, you know, some people around you are angry and outrageous about you. Some of them, they joined in as well, or if they never move forward, right, that means that they, you know, there could have been contracts started here. I think that there's just so much inner criticism and doubt, or this person just falls short. It's not enough. Their offers are not enough either. They're just, you know, it's forced. It feels like some of it could be forced, or they turn into a traitor themselves. They get burdened by the gang stalkers, a lot of them, or you just like, you guys don't work together on anything. You're not really collaborating. They have their own agenda, is what they're ready to admit, some of them, okay? They fall short and start abusing their power in a relationship to work on finances and career. They do something ruthless, impulsive, and boring. Some of them, you just feel like they're super boring after you realize it's like paternal attachment, and that they can't do, you know, they can't do for themselves, LOL, or they're having a karmic challenge like everyone else. 8 of Wands energy. I think that there definitely is attraction there. I definitely think that there is love, you know, pure love there, but I think that it is like, friends, I think that you really find them bitter about something, and you guys have frequent hardships about this, okay? If you decide to stay with this abusive partner, okay? Yeah, because they kind of struggle for power a lot, not receptive. And I think that you guys do show affection, but they end up being an abusive person, okay, that's trapped in limiting beliefs, old outmoded beliefs, has an internal struggle about something. You know, I think that they think you look good and sexy and all that, and a lot of them give you the crown, but these subconscious anxieties are like imbalanced thoughts, things that steal, you know, and drain your energy, and it's because of something is not moderated. A lot of it is mental illness that they might be ready to admit to you, a drug addiction, something that they need to, a lot of this can feel like, you know, their mental illness, behavioral health issue, a psychological woe, right, when they're triggered, this is where you will find them, okay, about something unconventional, where they try to, you know, they really, you know, this triggering of their ex or something like that is like about something unconventional, okay? And you guys need to, you're divinely protected through these triggerings where they're not receptive to your unconventional commitment, okay? I think that you guys do find harmony and, enjoy each other, but they project this superficial thing onto something unconventional. And it's just, that's the resistance. A lot of them, though, they're really out of depth about this. They're heading for a fall, okay? Some of them, they get caught for doing something negative, okay? They get caught for cheating, perhaps. Where they're projecting something superficial onto something unconventional, and it's paternal, okay, or they project something paternal. So yeah, I think that you're very sharp in this situation. They are the ones that have the uncontrollable problem, okay? And so it could become a competition for the wealth in the marriage. And I think that what they could be ready to tell you is that that this is kind of like a shadow relationship, that they haven't really, this spiritual connection is not, they're fond memories, but I think that it loses value. Or it struggles with something unconventional to find security. I think that they literally, you guys realize that this was a lot of, this is just a projection of someone else, their ex, and it could feel like, moments of hardship in your relationship. A lot of you guys are, they're finally ready to tell you about a woe, a psychological woe. And I think that when you realize this, some of it, or when they tell you this or admit this, you'll feel like you were naive about it, okay? Some of you will feel like three's a crowd, like, why are you projecting your ex? But a lot of it means that they're filled with inner criticism. It can mean they don't answer the call to marry, okay? They feel invested for a long time, but I think that they struggle with the triggering about their ex. And it's really a woe, something that they can't, it could be something about their facial feature, or it's not enough attraction, okay? And it doesn't have to be about the way that they look. It's just, if it's not enough attraction, then they'll find any reason to explore their options or go back to their ex, okay? That's what I'm saying about what they're finally ready to admit to you, friends. Let me know how this resonates in this style of tarot, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hi, group 2. Welcome to your selection. You chose this King of Cups, okay? So this could definitely be a Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy, okay? This, I was just like drawn to that zebra. This could be a black and white relationship, okay? This person can have a hairy chest. I don't know. So, some of you guys have reproduced in an interracial relationship, okay? Your name could be Elizabeth or start with the letter L, okay? So, let's see. What are they finally ready to admit to you, okay? Hope. Okay. Child. Okay. And we have the bouquet. Okay. And then on the bottom of the deck we have a rich girl. So, some of you, I think that they could be ready to admit to you that they like this child too. Is what I'm hearing, something where they're ready to admit to you that they have a child, or that that there was a complication about this child, okay? I think that what they're about to admit to you will give you satisfaction, okay? And I think that you learn that something that has been, I think that you get the victory in a situation I think that you get a victory in a situation, but I think that they threw, some of them, there's like this child threw an emotional tantrum, okay, because you were their rich girl, okay, and I think that they found, when this child threw this emotional tantrum, some of them found that to be satisfying too, or something where this child became a third party, okay, and it was because of it was an envy about you. I also feel like something about this also involved, like a lot of this is just their spirit. This is like a kindred spirit or a mental connection. We have wishing, yearning, and fantasizing. We have the second house, possessions. And then we have the letter H, okay. Some of you guys, they could be, you know, some of them, they're ready to admit to you that that they got someone pregnant. Some of you guys, they're ready to have a child with you. And I think that that's what you will find emotionally satisfying, okay. Some of them, they will tell you that they projected an issue about a child, okay. They got aggressive and got defensive, okay, about your possessions and you being rich, okay. They knew that this child knew that this man was, or this King of Cups was wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about you. And I think that there was an issue where you have to address this child, or there's communication with this child. Maybe there's written and verbal communications. There's an interpersonal connection here, and this child is not, you know, they're not valued, because they are like, they're not someone who has a financial capability, a personal freedom, or a plan or methodology. This was a child that tried to sabotage the relationship or something like that. And I think that you see, you might watch this person in the tarot, and I think that you see that they're very dreamy about you, okay. They wish, yearn, and fantasize about you, but I think that their emotional tantrums that were thrown about this child, and it had nothing to do with you. I think that they're finally ready to tell you, you know, through the third house, what kind of communication they've been having with this child. And a lot of it is just very short communication, where they're doing something practical, or they're helping you guys make your way in some type of way. They're just involved, and you know, I'm hearing that there is something verbal here, where this child started to throw emotional tantrums or strategize a communication because they knew that they were wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about you. And this communication that they got from this child made them unstable, or it created a disharmonious communication in some type of way, okay. Something happened where the communication about this child, I think that the intelligence that was formed around maybe a kindred spirit or a mental connection, where the communication could be really, really short, but you know that the child is defensive and aggressive, like something where this child is triggered, or you knew that there was a risk of this child, like with this hope. I think that you have hope around this child, because I think that they see you as a rich girl, and I think that a lot of them, when they see your personal liberties and your possessions, they throw emotional tantrums. And I think that they received a communication from this child, and I think that they wish, yearn, and fantasizing about you. But I think that this has created a burden, because it becomes a, you know, they know that this child is under their this child is critically observing the possessions, okay, and thinking about you guys in an intimate way, okay. So let's see what they're finally ready to tell you. What do they need to admit to you? And I think that, you know, I think that what they have hope for fulfillment in this situation, but I think that this child is just like a fan. But I think that there is something where the communication became disharmonious because of this child saw them claiming you, or you claiming possessions, or a projection of something superficial, okay. Yeah, I think that you're worried about this child, but this person, they're wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about you. You're the emperor, okay. And I think that it may have taken sacrifices for you to I don't know. I think that they loved you first, but I think that something disharmonious happens where you know that a place where there's short, communications, maybe where it's easy to form a mental connection or have a kindred spirit with someone through a short transactional relationship, perhaps, where they might try to nurture themselves nurture a wish or nurture themselves into, with an aggression that's kind of like strategized through the short and basic communication. But I think that something that you do with this Emperor energy is you definitely aid with the intelligence around this situation. And this person, we know that you guys have been, as the Emperor especially, that this person has been wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about you, and people can see you guys claiming each other or your possessions have been making them aggressive. And so when you guys, realize that there's a scrutiny or observation of your deep and tenacious relationship with the Emperor, this, I think that it created a bit of disharmony, okay? Or created a comparison about beauty that could have created disharmony or instability. Some of you guys, you knew that this child got aggressive or they started throwing tantrums because they were watching your possessions. And I think that a lot of you guys, you could have paranoia or excessive fears of losing your wealth. Maybe you could even have problems with hoarding. But I definitely think that you get possessed by them, okay? You get possessed by them and they see that you're very much so their rich girl, okay? But I think that I think that they're ready to admit that your value, I think, honestly. With the Justice card reverse, they might misjudge something, okay? The Nine of Swords, what are they finally ready to admit, group 2? The Knight of Swords, I think that this is I think that this is the situation, okay? This child throws tantrums and doesn't hold responsibility, okay? With the Justice card reversed, they do something deceptive in the basic communication or this third house communication. Maybe this is even your siblings or other young, it could even be young men. It could be these relationships are not aligned, and they know that they're not aligned because they know that you guys, a lot of you guys, especially as the Emperor, I'm not worried about this Justice card or the Lovers, because it feels like, there are people around and through the third house where you have interpersonal communications, but you need to use your intelligence to navigate the relationships, because these are people who don't hold responsibility for their own behavior and they throw emotional tantrums, and a lot of it is kindred spirit and mental connection, and so a lot of it is more burdensome than what's actually happening, okay? And I think that's something what they, some of them could be ready to admit to you that that they did write something to them, okay, that they did offer them something, okay, but some of them will say that they will say that it wasn't aligned, or that they were just a child, or that they weren't their wish, but I definitely feel like, they weren't wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about anybody else, especially with you being that rich girl. But I think that what happens in this situation is that someone writes a letter to them, and some of them could be admitting this to you. Someone writes a letter to them, and it shows they throw this in. It shows an emotional tantrum about your possessions and beauty. And so some of them become disharmonious, and maybe they start comparing your hair, or your beauty, or your femininity to this child that doesn't. And I think that what they admit you find fulfilling, right? They realize that that's not the person. They know that that's not the person they're wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about. But I think that when they could admit to you that they received information, or that someone, they were seduced. I'm hearing something where they could have been seduced, or they are, this is someone that they know, a child that doesn't take responsibility, but communicates with them, and they're finally ready to admit to you what this child has been communicating, and that they have to stay, have to stay brave because of some kind of written communication or verbal communication that could have became tangible with this child that doesn't hold responsibility, and they know that this child saw you guys together, saw them claiming you. They knew that it was deceptive as hell, is what I'm hearing. Okay, some of them, I feel like with the Emperor, this person does stay loyal to you, or you can count on them, or they are they are the authority in the situation. Some of them, they know how to handle this situation around the house. Okay, communication around the house. And so this person, they want to admit to you that this child has indeed, that they have reached a higher truth around this child, that they have, and that you were right about this person and their environment that have been, like this child, have been forming a kindred or mental connection, and have been like creating burdens around some kind of written communication or verbal communication that they extend that's really actually basic. And so something that you kind of help them, or I don't know, something where you have a rate of intelligence that you need to use in these short and basic communications so that they can tame and keep their composure with a child that doesn't hold their responsibility. Okay, that doesn't behave right. They do something, they throw tantrums, or they become angry and aggressive in their communication, like something where they feel like something they are ready to admit that this is actually something where someone becomes unstable or makes them unstable a little bit. It could have made you unstable, where it created disharmony. Maybe there was the information or the insinuations that this child has been making in the written and verbal communication that has actually been like really basic, around some kind of like almost something where it's the communication is not. It's clear that there's like a restriction or limitation around the communication, but this person is doing something to kind of like make them unstable. Some of them, they're really triggered about your feet. A lot of them, this is literally just creating fear, like paranoia, or they're not really thinking about this child. Okay. And so, what they're ready to tell you is that they some of them, they have been like, I've been claiming you. I have been, parading you around. And so if you guys have had any kind of issues with this child, this communication with this child, it could have like, maybe you could have even expressed a concern about it. I think that it made them feel like you were unstable, or they feel like it took you out of the dream, or it took satisfaction away, or something where this communication did make them reevaluate their wish, because some of them do learn that there's a gang stalker of people, or that some people have gotten aggressive about your relationship, where they know you guys are in a house together, being intimate, wishing, yearning, and fantasizing, and so they have to really keep their composure with this child that throws tantrums and like tries to like insinuate a lot through basic communication, right? This person has to be brave, and like with someone who throws a tantrum. Okay, the Queen of Cups reverse, some of them, they just literally they know that that person lost hope in life if they're doing this. You know what I'm saying? They know that that person is like angry and aggressive for something in an illegitimate way. Something that's kind of just like kindred or mental. It's like something where they're just doing, they're ready to admit that this child sent the communication, and they've been doing it off something just mental about your possessions, right? And I think that it makes them really unstable, but they learn a leadership or an authority in this situation where they have to like, where the rate of their intelligence is highlighted. Okay. I think that it's painful. I think that it definitely, this child is like, their mind wanders off to you guys about your house, and they know that means that they, that's really a rejection. If they become like obsessed with, like they form it's like a mental connection or a short communication, or just a kindred spirit with a child that is getting a rejection friend. And I think that they admit to you, they could verbally express to you that this child did indeed throw a tantrum, and you were right about that. A lot of them will be like, oh, you tamed me, and you tamed that child, with your intelligence, and help them like see clearly that this like child was feeling rejected, or just like getting unhinged about something that was mental, or just about like just upon seeing you. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot, they'll know that this was shadow. You know what I'm saying? That it created paranoia. A lot of them, they felt like it created paranoia around the relationship that creative, like, you know, where they're like, okay, I don't even know if I want to be in a relationship with you, right? I'm wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about you, but if something happened off like the strength, you know what I'm saying? So they were shocked to find that these mental connections or kindred spirits or basic short communications with, like, around the house or around, you know, something that governs the house or something like that, like a leasing office, became burdensome. And they know that those people are like lost causes, right? And I think that they're finally, yeah, it created something, it created disharmony around, you know, and I think that you could have hardened a bit, okay? And I think that they do love you, Fran, but I think that you really grew cold when you realized that there were, or got triggered in a situation where these relationships that govern around the house, or, you know, there's a communication govern here. There's there could even be restriction and limitation around the communication. There's just been so much of you guys needed to like hold a composure in this house or in this relationship or in this dynamic that you absolutely love, right? But, you know, this person claims you a lot, I think, but I think that you are shocked that this you know, you both are shocked that this child is suffering off of a mental connection, a kindred spirit, or off of some, you know, I don't even know if unorthodox communication is the right word. It just feels like it's some basic thing where you say, yes, thank you, have a nice day, and they just get attached to your possessions, right? So, you know, I think that they're finally ready to tell you that some kind of communication did happen. But, you know, they are like, it was a rejection, right? You know, because, and I think that some of them, they could be keeping this a secret, or they're finally ready to release this information. And I think that when they tell you this, you'll know that they like love you, or that they've like, you know, that these restless feelings that you've been having, because of some mental connections where there are people conflicting about your possessions or about your relationship, and you know that means that they're automatically not aligned if they off the strength of your possessions, and you're like, yeah, yes ma'am, and no sir, and your thank you and no thank you, off the strength that created like someone's, you know, someone wandering about, their mind wandering off about your house in any given moment. Like, a lot of this is mental, you know, that these people are like, you know, they really have, you know, become a fan of your relationship and house, and, you know, they can feel a sense of camaraderie, or they can feel a sense of some of them could feel flattered that people, you know, that people got jealous of them wishing, yearning, and fantasizing about someone else. For others, you know, I think that they're finally ready to tell you that there is indeed a conflict at your house with this child, right? Or around something that governs your relationship, or other interpersonal relationships. They're finally ready to tell you that those people, you know, they need to reject those people for you, and a lot of that made them, you know, I think that they're clear about that, and I think that they know that those relationships are not aligned, but they could feel burdened around having to detach with them. And I think that with the Nine of Pentacles, that's good. They don't feel like they are like have a codependency on these children, right? But I do think that they come around, you know, they know that you know that someone's obsessed, and that they know that they're obsessed, and this is all happening, like a lot of this is happening mentally. But some of you guys, you know, they want to tell you that someone needs to recover from a rejection, right? That someone did send a communication, that they have been keeping that a secret, and it's just been causing emotional overwhelm, because you guys have to have this, maybe even a deep intonation of relationship, or even just like a really, really balanced relationship where you do fantasize about each other. You do, you know, you're very rich, right? And I think that you give them the freedom to live life independently, but when you're away, you know, this person, they could clearly not be the one. You know what I'm saying? Like, this child is clearly like not the one. And I think that they don't hold a composure, and so they're like to let you know that there's a fight, okay, that this person did send a discord based on something mental, right? So, you know, and it could literally impact you, or impact your, you know, your resources. I also think that some of you guys are ready to tell you that, you know, what they'll tell you will be fulfilling. I feel like what they'll admit will share to you a value, that how they value you over this situation, how they protect you away from anger and aggression, or vice versa. This could flip in the other direction as well. Some of you guys, they will admit to you that they're not your wish fulfillment, right? That they felt the camaraderie with the conflict with someone else. Like when someone, it's like some of them will tell you, some of them will trade, but I think that, with the Emperor in the reverse, I think that they're very stable and loyal. But this is like a disillusionment of someone else. Like this child, we thought that this was just something that governed the interpersonal connections, like the leasing office, like an office, a workplace, something very basic and mundane. And they have to tell you that someone got mad off the strength of just like something mental that they observed about your relationship. Some of you guys will realize that like some of them were just drawn to you for a superficial reason, and if they had an opportunity to do something superficial, they might take that and like disillusion themselves, right? But I think that a lot of them they get disillusioned by this child and realize that there's a problem around your house, or a problem around a relationship where they need to show strength and composure, and they do. Okay, a lot of them do, because they know that this person's like clearly not the one, that they're driven by, that they're not successful in this governance, or they're not successful in this house. Okay, that they were, what they admit to you is that they start exploring this child, and then I think that you get disillusioned because you realize that they're kind of like immature as hell, or that they were like desperate to explore anything, like desperate to explore a romantic option with someone that they haven't really had a real communication with, and it was like it became a tantrum that they started to throw. Okay, so a lot of this Three of Cups energy is this disillusionment they have about someone else. When they throw this tantrum or have a mood swing, a lot of what this shadow mind wandering moves into is, ways where they recover from some kind of aggression, anger, or spiritual poverty. And I think that it definitely does represent like something that they feel ashamed about. I think that they're really successful in this union, or in what they admit. I think that you guys do have victory here, but you learned that it was a defensiveness, okay? A defensive tantrum around you or from them, okay? And I think that something that was basic as hell actually becomes like a burdensome, or becomes fighting around something that needs to be like, and where it needs to be governed with intelligence. I think that you're successful because you govern it with intelligence, but some of them, they they could start doing something illegal. Okay, the Nine of Wands. Okay, some of you guys, what you guys admit is that, you really don't, there's this other side, you know what I'm saying? I think that there's this other side of the house, right? Where, like, it could feel like deception and betrayal, but it's really something mental, okay, that's happening, okay? So it might require a lot of nurturance. Okay, but I think that you have, the reason why it can, what they're going to admit can feel, it can feel painful, because there is something happening from a mental or kindred spirit, like anger and aggression is happening, and it's mental. A lot of it is mental, and that it's because of beauty and possessions, y'all. Okay, so this is, this is not something that is deceitful. They know that this child is just trying to sabotage something, but they want to tell you that they didn't know what was going on when things got angry and aggressive about some child, or something that made you feel hardship as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it governs, or it's like a communication that becomes burdensome, or a new emotional experience where there's a disappointing person around, just angry about possessions. And I think that, it's supposed to be a teamwork situation, but it's just like breaking down, because because their deception or confidence issues get out of control around the house or around something that governs something, right? This could be a child that is involved in like in a traditional way, like a child that could literally be a member of the family. But I'm feeling for a lot of you guys, this is a child that has an authority position, or this is their child with their ex, or this is an incentive to go back to their ex, right? Because of their wish to govern did not come true. Like, it's like this child just doesn't they don't act fairly, okay? They could even do something really, really unfair, okay, in a situation that gives them an extra responsibility, or it could literally take your house to court, is what I'm hearing, okay? With the Seven of Swords, yeah, I definitely think that they admit to you that, something that they have been hiding, a burden, around something that governs you, right? And they feel like they know that that situation cannot be recovered, okay? Especially if it became anger and aggression about beauty, okay? And this child was just someone, disharmonious, that wasn't claimed, but there may have been some kind of like, I think that they do shrink, Fran. They shrink next to you, but they're one of the shrinking violets in the environment that have like scattered behavior that embitters you with their communication. It becomes burdensome. I don't know what happens. I think that they're ready to talk to you about this, because you're their empress, Fran, and that these other people were literally just like not. You guys are deep and tenacious, and stop, that's just, and I think that your beauty is secured in the situation, because these other people are just conventions that don't have enough attraction, but get aggressive about like your relationship life, some basic communication that they read into too much. Like, these are literally ancestral problems that these people could be having. But you guys are, I think that you will hit a milestone and you'll feel secured, and they will assure you a lot, and they will make a lot of emotional offers, and you will feel that self-love as well, friend, okay? Because if somebody, they just see you looking good, friend. They see you as this rich girl come around with this purity and devotion, and they could start doing something illegal for your man, friend, okay? Or they do something unfair, so that you have to like strategize how you govern, okay? That's what I'm seeing, group 2. This is what they're ready to admit to you, that you guys indeed do have to strategize, and that you guys are, I think that you have already been talking about this, a lot of you guys, and recovering from these relationships around that tries to interfere with how you govern, because they want to sabotage themselves, and their conventional beauty pales in comparison to the crown that's on top of your head, where they clearly wish you're to fantasize about you. And they, you guys recover from relationships that are not aligned around your house together, okay? This is what they're wanting to talk to you about. Thank you so much, group 2. Let me know how this resonates, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hi, group 3. What are they finally ready to admit, okay? Let's hop into your spread for today. So, what are they finally ready to admit, okay? Some of them could be, they could be ready to admit that they want an open relationship, that they want to, they could admit that they want to be intimate with other people. And I think that might just make you, leave a home or leave a situation. Something where you could feel, it really could make you feel uncomfortable, okay? So, some of you guys, you'll learn that, they're not deep and tenacious around an unconventional relationship that you have, okay? Something where you guys do a lot of talking. We have a woman, something about their ex, their spouse, okay? Their ex-spouse. This woman starts to, there's highlighting that there's like a woman that is involved with their occupation or money, something where this woman could be, they could have a contract, and this woman they get like, you know, they could be your spouse, or they can be, you guys could be going to court with this woman, okay? If you have an unconventional relationship, you guys, and you found true love, you guys, I'm just going to, you're going to have problems with, you know, with people, especially black women, upon your relationship, okay? Your relationship is unconventional, and it is a great fortune, okay? But a lot of you guys, what they're ready to admit to you is that they want to take on an unconventional relationship with you, because you work your occupation, okay? Some of them, they will let you know that, you know, their ex came back while you were working your occupation. They something, you know, something emotional was highlighted for them while you were working your occupation, and it made them, they projected, you know, something where they could have projected their ex. Some of you guys, this is happening just subconsciously, but for others, some of you guys will tell you that they went and had sex with their ex again, or they had sex with this woman, okay? Some of you will tell you it was just a kiss. Okay, so, you know, what are they about to admit to you? What are they finally ready to admit to you? Yeah, that this woman, you know, there's a woman here. They could be on a contract, or they could be related to their occupation, or your occupation. This person is, this is the ex tantrum thing, okay? That they still needed to release a projection, illusion, or fear from their ex, okay? Strength, that they've showed a lot of composure around your occupation. Some of you guys, they will tell you that this woman does not, you know, they do not work their occupation, that they don't hold the responsibility. This woman does something unfair, okay? And you guys might have to go to court with this woman because of something unfair that they do around the occupation, okay, or around a contract. Some of you, they'll tell you that they I don't know, something that they will tell you, it might turn you to ice, okay? Friend, okay, I just want you to be careful with this Queen of Cups energy, because I think that you show composure for your domestic bliss, but you might turn into an icicle, okay? I don't know, something that they will tell you about this woman, okay? Something that happened with this woman while you were working your occupation that they don't want to take, you know, that might shock you, okay? That might shock you, that might shatter a dream. They might tell you that that you were prettier than their ex, okay? A lot of you guys found out that you were prettier than this woman, okay? Maybe they showed you a picture of her. But I think that it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter because because you guys are deep and tenacious, okay? So we have the Page of Swords. I think it's something that makes you, what they admit to you, makes you a little restless. But it could be painful, okay? It could be painful because this woman is, it could mean you need to sacrifice, okay? Let's pull from the Felicia Patrice Tarot Meteos deck. Okay. I think their ex was disillusioned, friend. Okay. But it could have created, like, I think that they felt very vulnerable by your unconventional relationship. I think that the unconventional aspect of your relationship is disillusion someone, right? Where they thought that that was like the practical solution for something, and then it's not. You know, it doesn't work, right? They're not the queen. Okay. Yeah, the karmic. Their ex, the karmic loop with their ex that, you know, rules a lot of their emotions. Okay, or a woman in the environment that they loop with this Eight of Cups energy. Someone's name could be Deja. Okay. And then I think this, yeah, something when you find out that you're prettier. Okay. When you find out that you're prettier, it's divine timing. Okay. And you know, I think that they don't reject you because you're not pretty. I think that there's a rejection, or there is a loop because of your occupation to explore, you know, to go back to their ex or explore their options, because they can't handle you being pretty and working. For one, some of them, your work is taboo, and you know they're unfair about that. Okay. So yeah, something that they're defensive, right? That they don't hold responsibility, a burden that they have that makes them defensive, that swings their mood, that rules their instincts, that rules their emotions, that touches you really deeply, touches them really, really deeply. And it's literally, you know, this ex that an ex that wasn't fluid. I think that you are the closest to them as far as with their emotions, but they shrink. Okay, they're shrinking next to you because they stress so much. Okay, they stress so much about your occupation or about this karmic. I think that their ex comes back so they can reconcile some varied emotions, and I think that you're shocked that they are unreconciled about an ex. But I think a lot of you guys, a lot of this is mood swings. A lot of you guys will tell you that they pick someone else. Okay. But some of you guys, when you see a picture of this person, or when you see, some of you guys will realize that, that there might be someone else, okay? And so it's literally something where they have a problem with someone not being as pretty as you, and some of them go back to their ex because they're mad about you being pretty, okay? So they become extremely jealous and possessive and insecure with that Queen of Wands energy. The Star, I think that what they admit to you is that they don't really have a hope for your relationship because of your occupation. They will admit to you that that they did something on an instinct, and so I think that what they admit to you is a secret about the home, okay? Some of you, they could admit that there was some kind of issue with the ancestry, maybe even incest, molestation, something fluid. Some of them, something that gives them a mood swing. And I think that a lot of you guys, your pretty could make people have mood swings, or makes them angry and aggressive, okay? The Page of Pentacles reverse, the Six of Cups, the Two of Cups. Some of them will come in and admit that they just want to be friends, okay? because they went back to their ex. Yeah. So, yeah, something that is a rejection. I think that it is a rejection, friend. Or something that they've been feeling rejected about, that's unconventional about your relationship. And I think that a lot of you guys intuitively know that it's this ex, okay? Especially a lot of you guys, you could be considered prettier, or have more soul, and this person struggles with these unconventional aspects of your relationship because they could be struggling with, you know, a secret about your house, okay, or something that rules their emotions and makes them feel rejected. I think that they could tell you about something that, you know, that they're concerned about the feelings of others and how others will be, you know, others' feelings are affected. People who are getting angry and aggressive about your beauty, okay? A lot of you will just, you will find a lot of shared values over these shrinking violets in the environment, including their ex. I also think that what they admit to you will bring nostalgia, or it might hurt you emotionally. It might make you feel rejected. Something where they might tell you that they prefer someone else, okay? And but I see that you are the head bitch in charge, so you're always I think that you're a lot of times you're everyone's first preference. But the ex is a saboteur, that's looping, okay? And it's something that's happening instinctually, especially when they think about your occupation, friend, or think about something unconventional. They could really be struggling with their own ineptitude, okay? A lot of them feel inept, and so they don't feel good enough, so they feel that they should, you know, they should go back to their ex where, you know, they're really unsuccessful in their business, career, and finances, that they really don't have a plan or method. A lot of you guys, this will drum up nostalgia, or it will, you might revisit your fond memories that you have with this person and realize that there was like, you know, especially if there was touching involved. It's just like, you know, I think that touching like, everyone could feel like physical touch can lend to so many mood swings. And I think that their ex, or their last touching situation rules a lot over their emotions, and that person just was not devoted and dedicated. And I think that if they go back to their ex, someone that was not devoted and dedicated, then they really reject themselves, friend. I really think that they don't feel good enough, or they're hurt by your beauty. They are hurt by your occupation. Some of them do something to intentionally hurt you, to try to make you jealous with their ex. Some of you, that's just where they feel comfortable at, okay? That's just where they feel comfortable at. If they prefer someone else, then let them. But I do see that as the emperor, a lot of times you are their first preference, okay? But they have mood swings about their last touching situation with the Eight of Pentacles revert, with the Eight of Pentacles, that they need something that where they were rejected, you know, their touch was rejected, and it rules their emotions because it can literally create, it's literally about their instincts, something with their instincts. And I think that this will help you learn the looping that they're doing, or it will help you feel, I think that will help you guys reach a milestone, because they'll express to you something that has been, you know, that have been disturbing them about your occupation. But I think that if they make a mistake with this woman, or they make a mistake with this ex, like if they touch this, if they go back and touch this woman, or touch them at all, I think that might, you know, that might hurt your feelings, or it might end the relationship. Okay, the Tournament reversed. A lot of it is just their paranoia, and I think that a lot of you guys, they'll tell you that they're triggered about something else, or they were struggling, you know, with their past issues. And especially if there's an age difference in this relationship, I think that you guys may have, you know, you're definitely coming from different walks of life, and definitely can struggle with something unconventional like fluidity, age difference, feeling rejected from their ex still is also just like a common dilemma. Okay. You know, they might tell you that they, you know, tell you something that shows you that you know, that makes you wish that you weren't, you know, that you didn't invest, or makes you choose something else also, or, you know, you just don't like their behavior and just might feel that it's not aligned. If it's not working out right, then it's just like not enough, right? The Devil, I think that they're a shadow attachment, y'all. They're not unconditionally loving, okay? Because if they, you know, I think that they master their instinctual responses to your guys' touch, and, you know, problems that you could have, and they can be really trying hard not to project their ex. But I think that it just shows, you just feel like it's not aligned, okay? Temperance. The Hangman. I think that this woman becomes a sacrifice for you guys. Their ex, they still need to work together on something with their ex, or work together with this woman on something, and it's a shadow attachment, okay? Yeah, it's instability about someone else, or about someone that wants to have two, okay? They want to have their ex and you, okay? Or they want to have, you know, they want to have a double, or they want to have, you know, or it's just a mood swing, you know what I'm saying? Something where they try to justify, you know, because of you're pretty. The Death in the reverse, right? I think that they delay an ending, and it's really disharmonious, because it's the envy, friend. It's the envy. Okay, you just, they are not the wish fulfillment. I think that they take a leap of faith somewhere else, you know, to go back to their ex because they feel inept about something, okay? You know, where is this person finally ready to admit to you with the Seven of Cups? This person is ready to admit to that they have been exploring options, okay? That they're lacking closure somewhere else. Maybe they'll tell you that there's not enough attraction because of age difference, or because of something unconventional. I think that you're secured around your beauty, but I think that it's just not enough. You know, it doesn't matter if you're prettier. It's just not enough, okay? I think something does happen in divine timing for you to start having this new emotional experience with this person, where I think that, you know, its cycle is not over, but you know, there's victory. It could be victory and success and recognition and high honor, but it just could feel like not enough. This could be a temporary depression, but I think that some of you guys grow genuinely cold. But maybe not so much with the Empress, but I think that you are receptive to them as they resolve some varied emotions about their ex. I think that that's what they're coming in ready to tell you. Some of them have been, you know, they've been in separation for a long time because they went back to their ex, and if they went back to give their ex D, they totally reevaluated the relationship. And, you know, I don't think that you'll be interested in them after they go back and touch their ex or something like that, who was just a convention, is what I'm hearing, right? Where you're like this Empress, and this ex is like a Knight of Pentacles reversed. I think when they come admit this to you, they will come with a crown, or they will come with some commitment or something that they want to do, you know, around, they will try to put a tradition maybe around something before that may have been fluid, right? But I think that they do have mood swings, right? Or there was a cycle where the offer was revoked, and they want to, when they come and admit this to you, I think that they will tell you why the offer was revoked, or they'll tell you why they had a mood swing. They'll tell you, you know, I definitely think that they'll see you as the Empress, but they'll let you know that they had some instinctual response to their ex, and some of them did go back and like like something where they wished upon a star or something like that. You know, they could have, like, this could even been a relationship they have with the mother of their child. They may have revoked an offer, went back to their ex, and I think that this kind of really set the tone of the relationship. Maybe it set the tone for you guys to have an unconventional relationship or an open relationship. But some of you guys, they've been at a crossroads for a long time, or they've been in separation for a long time, and some of you, they stopped touching, and I think that there was a lot of, emotions that came along with this, where they could have started showing off or started crowning someone else, right? For others, this person already crowned you, okay? If they already crowned you, they just are going to tell you that they have been, swinging about your, okay? Let's pull the cards here. I think that don't be receptive to breadcrumbs, friend, okay? Somebody, they kind of start shutting off to you. And it's because they reject your being. And I think that you're very receptive, but I think that when you learn that they're kind of like rejecting your being, okay? That kind of like sets the tone for the relationship. If they, they might come back and tell you, or they might admit this, right? I'm working on my career and finances. Yeah, like I said, a lot of them didn't feel good enough for their within their career, with this occupation energy. Yeah, there's something where they don't feel like they have enough money for you. They decide to hide the deep feelings for you. They don't want to represent something unconventional. They're confused because they have they had built a resentment, and I think that set the tone in the relationship, where this is actually like, it could be a true love, right? But I think that they're too resentful about when you were working your occupation. They're too resentful about, some ex, that makes them hide, right? And I think that it's just something that they weren't expecting. But I'm not saying that it's end all be all, but I think that they do lose luminary. Or some of you guys, they're not able to release a resentment about something unconventional, or something that sets the tone for your relationship. They really shrink themselves, okay? They hide their deep feelings for you, okay? But I do think they manifest through being, friend, okay? But if there was a long separation, just know that the reason why they went back to someone else is because they got mad, they got resentful about something, okay? When you were unavailable, when you were burdened by something as well, I think that you guys are just, you guys come to the situation very varied, especially if there's a spotlight about their ex, or about your beauty, an argument that was had. I just think that they're not really a star to you, because of how the relationships, how the tone was set of the relationship. And they could, this could be a big part of the beginning of a relationship. And I think that when you learn that they had already formed a resentment about something when you guys were already in an unconventional relationship, it doesn't feel deep and tenacious, or it feels like, they grow bitter towards you for, because they were hurt by something, okay? And it doesn't take responsibility that this was actually a resentment that was, a projection of some kind of performance, or projection related to their ex's performance, and that just sets the tone, okay, of you probably being very cold and detached, okay? Let me see, I'm talking, or you dealing with this woman in the environment that is cold and detached, because some of you guys could be this Empress. But that's what I'm saying, friends, about what they, you know, are finally ready to admit to you. Some of you, they're finally ready to admit that they are resentful towards you, or that they don't feel it, that they that you need to recover from something. Okay, some of you guys have been lacking closure, or you haven't been able to accept something that they do that's varied, especially if you guys read their tarot. I also feel like some of you guys have really been, you know that some of you guys, they lost hope in the situation when you expressed that you wanted a child. Okay, and so some of you, that's a big reason why they went back to their ex as well. Okay, but you know, to be continued, to discuss, for reflection right now. But let me know how this resonates, you guys. I'm gonna take a quick break because I'm so tired. Like, I just got a headache. Like, I just got dizzy all of a sudden. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Hi, Group 4. Welcome to your selection. So let's hop into, what are they finally ready to admit? Okay. So I started with a little bit of tarot. I kind of did this different in every pile because this reading has gone so long, actually, because I did a different kind of spread today, but I kind of like that spread. Okay, so let's get into it, friends. What are they finally ready to admit? Okay, this person's name could start with the letter A. Someone's name could start with the letter Q or letter E. Okay, somebody has, you know, they could have a pot belly. Okay, for some of you guys, we have marriage. So what are they finally ready to admit? Okay, some of you guys, they could be ready to admit that they're not really devoted and dedicated to this marriage. Some of you guys could be, they could be ready to finally admit that they're a hazard around the marriage. Okay, your beauty being one of the hazards around the marriage is what I'm hearing, or your occupation being dangerous. We have the Sun. Some people could really decide that your occupation is too hazardous, or that it's too dangerous, friend. Or, you know, a lot of you guys, you know, I think that they're about to tell you that you have a fan. Okay, someone where you reflect their, you know, your marriage's masculine's influence a lot with the Sun energy. There's a lot of joy and spontaneity here, but there was also risk around the relationship. Okay, you know, I feel like someone sees your masculine influence and becomes a fan of your relationship and marriage, but they become somebody that tries to sabotage. Okay, this feels like a Matrix Reloaded. Okay, or there's just this relationship, you know, I think that it lacks trust, and it is, you know, there's someone jealous around the relationship. So or something catty happens, or there's just a situation where you need to exercise discernment. Okay, so, you know, what are they ready to tell you guys? Archangel Haniel, the 12th house. They're going to address the success or failure of this marriage. If you guys do not have a mutual dream, you know, some of them will tell you that this is not their dream. Okay, they might share with you a failure. Okay, LOL. And some of them, they may do something, you know, if you guys do have a mutual dream, that's great. Some of them do plan and work actively to achieving that goal. But I think that, you know, some of you really already have a strong bond with someone, is what I'm hearing. And I think that you guys I think that what they admit to you will help you guys decide if this is something that is fulfilling. Okay, that's something that's joyful. Maybe they will admit to you a sorrow a subconscious sorrow after they get their own clarity. I think that they definitely, you guys, what they admit will help you address the success or failure of the situation. Some of you guys will feel that because there was no mutual dream or no goal, you know, some of them, they will tell you that they didn't have any goal, or that they didn't have any plan, okay, that they were just trying to do something conventional. So something that they admit to you, that can make them feel like a failure, okay. Let's keep going. What are they finally ready to admit to you? An enemy that you have, or a fan that you have, okay. Something dangerous, secret, or hidden. Something that you might need to keep from hidden from you, okay, or something that they've been keeping hidden from you. What are they finally ready to admit to you, group 4? So let's get their tarot a little bit. So, not their tarot, but their channel messages from this divine counterpart oracle. Okay, I'm gonna pull these right away. Okay, especially this could be someone. This could involve marriage. Okay, some of them will tell you that this is not, that they've been trying to cope with the failure of not having fulfillment in this marriage. Or a failure that they've had, where you brought joy and fulfillment into their relationship, into their life, okay? I think that it might improve trust or build trust, because a lot of you guys, they might share with you a failure, and I think that it helps you feel more deep and tenacious with one another, okay? Or you'll learn that they truly have been experiencing a joy with you after coping with so many failures in their life, okay? And then I think that you'll, you know, something where they'll be like, too, I feel that way too, you know, something where you guys will feel that way too, okay? Or they chose, you know, some of them, they'll tell you that they're not devoted and dedicated to marriage, and that they chose someone else, okay? So that's also, that could be a failure, okay? So let's see, let's pull some messages from these divine counterpart oracle. Okay, the timing wasn't right. I think that they want to tell you that they are not ready for marriage, okay? That they're not. I think that you're safe around this third party situation. Some of you, this third party is literally just a hazard, and it's something that, you know, it's like, I think that it's leading to a failure, okay? I think that if they are struggling to release, you know, or they have been creating a hazard, then that's, I think that you learned that they're a failure. Some of you, I don't know, this feels like you know, this could not be a third party that is dangerous to you. I think that they plan or work around this hazard, and but I do think that if you were looking for them to do something, okay, or you were looking for a particular time frame in the situation, this person is, you know, they're not on time, is what I'm hearing, okay? They want to let you know that that you could be safe. You're safe to trust, but I think that the hazard or the danger, the risk, could be this third party that could have a contract that could be governing in some type of way. Or, you know, they created a hazard, and now they're having a hard time releasing it, okay? Some of you guys, they're struggling with it because of beauty, right? They know that that means danger. They know that that means that not everybody will see, you know, that it's deep and tenacious. Some of it is not deep and tenacious, okay? But I think that they really, I don't know, something about it feels like a little bit of a failure to you, I think, okay? If they're struggling to release, I think that that means that they're not really having fulfillment, okay? And I think that you aren't either. So some of them do something, you know, impulsive, and it's a failure. Something happens where they do something impulsive, and they already, you know, the timing wasn't right about something, and I'm hearing that at least you decide what to do after they admit a failure in your marriage, is what I'm hearing. A failure to fulfill something in your marriage. Okay, Ace of Cups, that looks beautiful. What are they about to admit to you? Finally ready to admit to you. Emperor, very beautiful. It feels safe, but I think that they could be scattered and struggling with a hazard around your marriage and relationship. Like they're struggling to decide something around a third party, is what I'm hearing, okay? But that actually is dangerous and hazardous because of the joy that you guys find together, or your beauty. They could literally be the enemies, okay? They're ready to admit to you that, you know, what they decide about the enemies. The Eight of Swords, yeah, because it's like a self-imposed restriction. They already know, they're aware that they're enemies, but they don't feel like they have they're not able to, they're struggling to exit. They're struggling to, because it's unseen, okay? Some of it is unseen, okay? So with this Ace of Cups energy, they feel burdened by the responsibility of marriage, of partying with you. Some of them, they feel that partying with you is too burdensome. Like, you know, they feel like you have, like, this is too much responsibility, or too much extra work, or too, you know, it could feel like too much burden, or too much of them having to change their life and schedule. And a lot of them feel unprepared, okay? So they're scattered a bit, you know, they deal with unseen things, okay, as well, that are hazardous and dangerous, because literally being happy these days, you know, makes anyone feel unstable, okay? You know, this person, I think that what they admit to you is that they've been struggling to prioritize, that they've been struggling to negotiate a hazard. They've been struggling to negotiate this house. Some of you, they leave the house, or they started to leave the house, okay? Some of you, they admit to you that they were impulsive, okay, about something or someone else, and they've been carrying a burden about it. Some of them, they will admit that they, you know, they might even feel like, despite their best intentions, friends, that things are not true, and have not, you know, fulfilled in what they, you know, have met their expectations. You know, they might tell you that something feels missing, you know, missing for them. I think what they tell you is it burdens you, because I think that you guys become burdened by true love, okay? You become burdened by, you know, something where, I don't know if it feels mutual, friends, but I think that they don't really have a dream, or they don't really have an aim or purpose. So this, yeah, I think that they feel really burdened and unstable in their engagement with you, getting together with you. I feel like they feel like it's too burdensome to hang out with you, or it's too much work, or too expensive. You know, I think that they do love you, but I think that they truly don't have a dream, or they're truly, and that's also a hazard, right? They feel like they don't have everything they need because of some, you know, invisible or unseen enemies hovering the relationship in the orbit. I think that you know, this feels victorious and successful, and I think that you guys do have, you know, celebratory moment. And I think that, but I do think that it can feel like a hardship, trying to navigate a hazard around. Okay, it can feel dangerous, it can feel burdensome, you know, that you have, that there are people that have become, or people or things that have become hazardous around your relationship. People who, you know, I think that the third parties are, they fantasize about you guys, okay? They fantasize about you guys, and I don't think the feeling is mutual, friends. I think that there's really, you know, there are really some people who are, who dream about y'all and imagine about y'all, okay? And so this is literally, you know, a lot of it is non-consensual, right? And I think that it makes, you know, there's a lot of people around the marriage, especially if it's on a commercial or something, where it is like, it makes you fear, okay? It creates fear instead of the joy that you once experienced, or perhaps at the beginning of your relationships. Some of them are just like, let me take a leap of faith. I don't know what we're going to do with all these enemies, but I truly think that they feel that something's missing, that this is not the dream come true, okay? Some of them could feel like their dream is shattered, right? Especially because some of them make this mistake, or they become burdened as hell by something unseen to you, or something unseen to them, or they need, you know, there's a lot of third parties, unstable, disharmonious, that, you know, that are around for physical security, because removing them or releasing them will create more security issues, is what I'm hearing, okay? Because there's so many enemies about your house and your marriage, is what I'm hearing. And some of you, I think that they're finally ready to admit that this makes them have mood swings. The hazards and the dangers makes them have mood swings, okay? They'll admit to you a conflict that they've been having, about a third party that is a hidden or unseen enemy to you, okay? And that they were aware of it, okay? Someone that was not the empress, right? Someone that was shrinking around you, someone that was disharmonious and deceptive, and not joy, okay? Not intimacy, not passion, not active, okay? But I don't think that I think that they make this mistake, and you just, you know, what they admit is that they're just selfish and not really, or that they had to make a sacrifice in some type of way, okay? To learn about a conventional problem, okay? With the Page of Pentacles, it's really interesting that comes out upright, okay? Because when I shuffled it, it was for your significator here, it came out as reversed. But I definitely think they drive their own way in a situation. But it's not enough. I think that you learned that it's not enough, or that they deliberately betrayed the relationship, that they didn't have, that they were just a loser, that they were just lazy, that they just chose to do something conventional, holding on to like third parties that resent you or that are enemies to your house, because they throw tantrums about you, okay? And I think that feels like betrayal, okay? And that's a painful realization, because they're so burdened by the hidden enemies of the house, or the unseen enemies of the house, or people who become a hazard, right? So some of you guys, this can mean the end of the relationship, or you realize that they have committed to something else. They have an issue about something. They missed the opportunity, right? They decide not to move forward. You guys just decide to have, you know, you just decide to keep them in your dreams, okay? They don't really have a dream, though, is what I'm hearing, friend, okay? And they don't really answer the call. So this is not somebody that you work in a team with, because they don't have a dream. It was just something really, really immature where they could have started making offers to marriage, but you guys don't have the same values. Okay, and so you can release the fears about your, insecurities and fears about your physical appearance, and realize that a lot of this was just, them showing an uncontrollable emotional insecurity about, through the 12th house, about, the enemies that like when they saw you guys having joy together, they became enemies and they betrayed because, the enemy was a burden to them. Okay, that's what I'm saying about what they are, finally ready to admit to you, is that, what they admit will sting. It will show that they were insecure, not strong, that they, the feelings were not mutual, or that that they can't work to achieve a dream or goal about something. They're just looking to do something conventional. Okay, that's what I'm saying, group 4. Let me know how that resonates about what they're finally ready to admit to you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.